I'm in like two minds whether I should make this video into a vlog style video or just a standalone video, but I'm just gonna start filming and then we will work it out as we go, because I want to talk to you about shock horror, body image. However, I want to talk about something more particular than that. It's about the phenomenon, I'm gonna call it, of one day being able to look in the mirror and liking what you see, thinking that clothes look good on you, your skin is shining, you feel really optimistic, and then within the space of sometimes less than 24 hours, you can look in the mirror again and be tearing yourself apart, crying, hating the way you look, nothing suits you, and it's just a really bad time all round. The question always comes to my head is, rationally, what has really changed in 24 hours? Our bodies aren't capable of changing that much in such a short period of time, but what we're probably dealing with here is that our perceptions of our bodies have changed. I'm sure this phenomenon is not foreign to a lot of people, but it's something that personally I have dealt with a lot, and it always plays on my mind because the rational part of my brain is like, Lucy, get a grip, nothing's really changed, but the irrational and the emotional side of my brain is just going absolutely haywire and having a wild time. So I've been spending some time thinking about it, thinking about what would affect my perception of my body image. And it can be so many different things. It could be, and this is the one I'm dealing with at the moment, your hormones. I am so deep into my luteal phase that I am basically a walking red flag for myself at the moment. So hormones are probably, for me, the biggest thing that affect it. But then it could be triggers such as a comment that you've heard, trying on some more clothes that maybe don't fit you in the same way anymore, having a bad gym session, having a bad interaction in general, spending too much time comparing yourself to other people. I also think I subconsciously do that quite a lot. And then even things like obviously your general energy and your mood. So if you've been sleeping well, if you're under a lot of stress, emotional stress, etc. And here's the kicker, and probably the most frustrating part, that we know in our brains that it's irrational. We know that our perception is probably skewed if just 24 hours earlier we were thinking a totally different way. But logic and body image, they don't always RSVP to the same party. And we're usually left frustrated, sad, and wasting a lot of time over nothing. I honestly would shiver to imagine how much time and energy I have wasted worrying about my looks. So I guess the first thing to talk about is how we got here and how we live in this world that's kind of obsessed with aesthetics but pretends that it's not. So if you're familiar with my story, you'll know that in the past I lost quite a significant amount of weight. I then got into health and fitness, and it since became my career. And as somebody who has been in the, quite frankly, daunting health and fitness space for a good amount of time now, it's so apparent to me that not only I struggle, but so many other people struggle with this idea of battling for aesthetics not to be the primary goal, but then always having this little niggling voice in your mind just constantly saying that aesthetics are important and the way your body looks is your worth, and that the fact that you should pay attention to it, and just generally tearing ourselves apart. So going back to my weight loss, I initially lost weight thinking that being in a smaller body would just make me happy and solve all my problems. And here I am, like 10 years on, feeling deeper in it than I ever have before, and kind of shortchanged for all the efforts that I've put in so far. But there's a lot more to the story. In some ways, it's definitely understandable that I thought it would make me happy, because after losing weight for a few blissfully ignorant and naive years, I did feel happier that I had lost weight and I was living in a smaller body. However, over time, it became apparent that that really wasn't the case. And the reason why, well, there was loads. The goalposts are always moving. So whenever you achieve something, there's just something else to achieve in the future. And once it's lost its shine, you're kind of left feeling like maybe you're a little bit of a failure or you haven't tried hard enough. Then we've got the environment and the world we live in. We have a social media system that churns out a new body ideal like every 6 months. My mid-30s and rather uncool brain doesn't even have time to catch up on the previous body trend before there's a new one coming in. But the real big kicker I found is that physically changing your body is one thing, but nothing is changing in here unless you make an effort there as well. So therefore, if I had a bad perception of my body then, changing my body is not going to make any difference because my brain hasn't changed at all. I still feel exactly the same way towards the way I look. I'm still going to tear myself away and be my own worst critic and still obsess over the same imperfection and flaws that I always did. And so after days of, quite frankly, tearing myself apart because it's been 30 degrees here in the UK, and I've been having to walk around in shorts, which is already a massive win for me, because years ago you would never have seen me dead in shorts, and I actually wore shorts to the gym yesterday and around town. But that's still overshadowed by the fact that every step I took, I was looking at my legs or thinking about the fact that they were wobbling, and that I have cellulite and I have a birthmark down one of my legs, and that I generally just don't really like them. And don't get me wrong, I can appreciate these are the legs that do such incredible things for me, and I've talked about this in so many videos. My body does so much and allows me to do incredible things, and I have so much respect for it, and I am grateful for that. But it still doesn't mean that just subconsciously I'm constantly tearing myself down, and quite frankly it is exhausting. And so, because I feel like I am a self-proclaimed expert in the field of hating my own body for no reason, I would share with you some of the things that I have learned along the way, which either help or hinder my thoughts in this area. Not in a preachy, I'm telling you what to do way, but in a, I am not alone. I know I'm not the only person that feels this way, and I hope it helps in some way to share this. Let's start with the positives. Let's start with the what you can do if you find yourself in this mood of looking at yourself and tearing yourself apart. And number one is just move. And I know you've probably heard this time and time again. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go for a mental health walk or to go and smash a workout in the gym. But what I'm going to tell you to do is just do something that actually is relaxing and accessible to you. I think sometimes when you're in this mindset, you're at a fork in the road and you kind of want to go down one or two paths. You either want to lay on the bed and wallow in self-pity and just stare at the wall. Great option, that's what it feels like at the time. Or the other option is you go and you just completely thrash yourself in some weird form of self-punishment for hating yourself. And I think either of those are two extremes that we kind of want to avoid. You want to land somewhere in the middle. And what I try to do is say, what is accessible to me at the moment in my mental capacity? Like, what will actually feel good and is not going to lead to more comparison, lead to having expectations that I'm not going to meet. Kind of like my safe movement, because 9.999 times out of 10, I feel better after I've done some form of movement, as long as there's no expectations involved with that, and that I can do it without threat and comfortably. So that could be following your gym program because you know you'll feel better afterwards, but it could also be going for a walk with your friend and taking the dog out, or doing some yoga in your comfy track pants at home, not having to leave the house. But doing something is always going to be better than nothing, but just not going to the extreme. Next up is reducing your consumption. Now, I already touched on this because I'm not talking about food here. I am talking about all the different inputs that you have in your life, mainly social media, because that is the world that we live in. I nearly always find that the times I feel worse about my body coincides with an increase in my screen time, and it's something that gradually creeps up over time, and I don't quite realize that I'm doing it. But what it's leading to is subtle comparisons. It's leading to an overload of perfection and people doing things better or more exciting, and it's not something that, again, I'm conscious of as I'm looking at it, because it might even be friends or it might be peers that I really respect. But what I'm doing is I'm subtly telling myself, oh, you're a piece of shit. Oh, you're a piece of shit. And that's seeping into my brain, and over time it builds up. Another thing that I've noticed is reality TV. If I watch too much reality TV, over time I just notice that my mood and my relationship with my own body just starts to decline, and I don't realize it at first until it's kind of too late and it's a bit of a slippery slope. So reducing consumption and really being aware of how things make you feel, the things that give you energy and the things that are draining your energy. It could even be people you're spending time with or how you're filling your day. Be aware of what you're consuming and moderate accordingly. Here's another big one for me, and very relevant at the moment, and it's knowing your own red flags. There are going to be times where I always naturally have worse body image. For me, luteal phase is a nightmare. My brain literally starts spewing out negative headlines about myself like it's a daily tabloid, and it is exhausting. But if I can prepare and know that it's going to happen, at least I'm not left feeling like, why am I like this? Another one, and it probably seems crazy, but as somebody who lives their life in comfortable clothes and activewear, if I have to wear normal clothes, it's really hard work because I'm not used to the feeling of clothes on my skin. Everything feels a lot tighter. I don't know how to dress or style myself, and it just ends in this doom spiral. In fact, you should see where I keep my clothes at the moment, because there is just literally a pile on the floor, because I had 2 occasions where I had to wear normal clothes at the weekend, and it completely spun me out and I didn't know what to do. So for me, occasions like this are slight red flags, and I know I'm probably going to struggle a little bit more with body image, so it's just preparing myself for that, and then I can try and soften the negative self-talk a little bit and be a little bit kinder to myself. I think this is a pretty obvious one, but wearing comfortable clothes can be a great one. If you're particularly struggling with not knowing how to style yourself, feeling uncomfortable in clothes, just wear something comfortable. This kind of links into one of the ones that we want to avoid, but basically avoiding triggers is the key here. So if you can find clothes that are comfortable, wear that, and you're not going to be focusing so much on the way you feel until at least you're in a better headspace to be able to deal with it. And then finally, good old communication. Just talking. Talk to your partner, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to somebody about it. Even if you're just talking to yourself in your journal, sometimes just airing it out loud gets it off your chest a little bit and takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders. It's not about somebody saying to you, oh, you look amazing, and trying to overwhelm you with compliments. That's not what you need, because quite frankly, you wouldn't believe it anyway. But it's just about giving it a bit of airtime, getting it off your chest, and being able to move on. And like I said, this kind of links into some of the things that we want to avoid. So the first one being the triggers. Try to avoid anything that is going to make this worse. So that could be checking yourself out in mirrors or windows as you walk past them. If I'm walking around town thinking about how horrible my legs look in shorts, it feels horrible to even say that out loud. Like I hate the way that we speak to ourselves. But anyway, if I'm walking around thinking these things, I'm looking in mirrors and windows as I'm walking past them, almost to confirm that that is the case. Oh yeah, I still look the way I think. And it's not helpful in any way. So I literally say to myself, I don't look. I try to keep tunnel vision or keep myself preoccupied on something else to force myself not to see the triggers. Other triggers could be things like trying on clothes that did or don't fit, body checking, reminiscing on how you used to look in photos and videos, or literally just staring at yourself in the mirror in bad lighting for 20 minutes. Just try to distract yourself from the things that are making this worse, again, until you have a little bit more of a headspace that you can deal with it. Next up, avoid trying to back up what you're thinking and what your beliefs are with data. And I'm talking about going and grabbing a measuring tape, jumping on the scales, trying on those jeans to see if you fit into them. Whatever it is, what are we really trying to achieve here? Because it's only going to lead to one way. We're going to very temporarily feel a little bit of relief if it goes in the direction that we want it to. But then because our brain's not changing, our thoughts are just going to fall straight back to where they were, or it's just going to make you feel even worse about yourself. So don't do it. And then if all else fails, my last resort thing is to just do something. And this is the point where I start to get a little bit impatient with myself, and I have some serious words. I know that it's much more enticing to lie on the bed and wallow about how I feel and achieve absolutely nothing, but I try to visualize I'm at a fork in the road. One way is leading to that outcome of just lying around achieving absolutely nothing, and the other option is to do something, anything, literally anything that is going to move you forward in some way. That could be just going and sending an email for work. It could be just doing some housework, or going for a short walk, or moving your body a little bit, or organizing the cupboard that you've been putting off. And a lot of the times you don't want to do that. You want to just wallow. We're humans. It feels good to be in that comfort, but it's not going to help. And so I say to myself, just go and do it. I force myself to go and do it just for 5 minutes. And why? Well, it just builds that momentum, and momentum builds momentum. It might just be that a rolling stone gathers no moss, and you start heading in a much better direction, and it lifts your mood. And the worst case scenario is that you've moved ever so slightly forward in your day and progressed somewhere. But ultimately you have an option between doing nothing or doing something, and doing something is always going to be better than doing nothing. But sometimes you just have to be a little bit harsher on yourself. And so there's my little curated toolbox of things that you can do if your body image changes quickly enough to give you whiplash, which mine has been doing for the last decade, probably a lot longer. I also want to mention one last thing, and I say this in so many of my videos because it's really an important point to remember, and that is YOLO. These things aren't that big. And I know you've probably heard this quote, but it is so true that the way you look is the least interesting thing about you. When I think about my family and friends that are closest to me, I couldn't care less what they look like, or if they have acne or scars, or if they have cellulite or birthmarks, or if they've gained weight or lost weight. It is so irrelevant to me. What I cherish is the fact that they inspire me, that they have beautiful personalities, that we have made amazing memories together, and the looks that are just so irrelevant. And I'm sure it works the other way around. And not just that, but remembering that you truly will be your own worst critic. Have you ever been in a scenario where someone has said something to you and it is so far removed from what you believe about yourself? I have a perfect example. Last night I went climbing with my friend and we were talking about hair and she was like, oh, but your hair always looks so nice and like fresh and clean. And I was thinking in my head, no, like I always look so scruffy and I've got like dry shampoo in my hair and it always looks like it's sticking out left, right and center. And I have so many examples of this where someone has said something and it just doesn't compute with the image in my brain. And this is where my body dysmorphia really kicks in, especially when people mention anything about my size or my build, because I well and truly still believe that I look like this in my head and it really confuses me. But that's a whole nother topic. No one is judging you as hard as you are judging yourself. Ultimately, I don't have an easy solution to this, but I do know that every time I talk about this topic or I share information on it, I get a lot of people saying, it's not just me. And I want to remind you, it is not just you. You are not alone in this. So many people feel the same way. So you're not broken. You're living in a culture that profits from your self-doubt and bombards you with subtle perfection all the time. Maybe the most radical thing that we could do is embracing our flaws and liking the way that we are anyway, as hard as that actually is. In the nicest possible way, I kind of hope this video doesn't resonate with you, but if it does and it gives you some comfort, then I really hope that this has been helpful. If you have any other things that you have in your toolbox, I would love to hear them, so chuck them down below. If you think this would help anyone, share it with them. And otherwise, I think I'll just leave this video here instead of making it into a vlog, because quite frankly, I'm doing nothing exciting today. It is literally just a laptop computer day, and I have so many injuries at the moment that I am very limited in terms of what I can do. I'm seeing my absolute legend of a sports massage therapist, and she also is like does movement assessments tomorrow, and we're going to try and work out what the heck is going on, because my body genuinely feels like it is just falling to pieces. Just to give you a very quick rap sheet, I think I have tennis elbow, I have an issue with my hip, and my ligament in my lower back keeps flaring up. I have terrible knees at the moment, specifically my left knee from where I fell over trail running, and it's been progressively getting worse even though I've been trying to taper back my exercise. And then just to really add a kicker, I think I might have plantar fasciitis in one of my feet. If not, it's just a strain or a sprain or something, but I could barely walk for the day, so I've had to severely drop down even my walks. My walks, they're like the one happy part of my day that I really enjoy, and also I need to just balance myself and keep me sane, and that's the state of affairs at the moment. So I will keep you updated on how that goes, but my day is going to look pretty boring, although I do have updates on the camper van situation, and also I have started doing salsa dancing classes, so if I can do that tonight I might go, because I'm still at like very beginner levels, so it's really not that intense. So other than seeing my baby niece and nephew who are heading back to the States in 2 days time, which I'm very sad about, that is going to be my day. I'm just going to spend the day at my laptop editing this video, working on the new program for the app, which I filmed the other day, which I feel so proud of myself for, because again, bad body image and filming yourself and then editing yourself, they do not go hand in hand, trust me. So I'm really proud of myself for doing that, but that's a couch to calisthenics program, so that's super exciting. And then also chatting to my clients, because that always makes me feel better. So that is my day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Oh, and you know how I was talking about having a massive pile of clothes? Well, this is said pile of clothes.